Hey guys, welcome back. Today I kind of wanted to switch it up a little bit. As you can tell, I've got my goth makeup on, I've got a brand new microphone, I've basically got everything I need. Basically, today we'll be reading a bunch of spooky stories from Reddit. More like as white noise. I've been procrastinating making this video for a bit, also because of the microphone delays. I was supposed to get this like a week ago, and it arrived kind of late, but it's okay, it's chill. But yeah. All credits will be given to the rightful owners of these stories. I'll be reading off the subreddit called r/nosleep. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoy. Bye-bye. The following story is called The Smiling Man by blue_title. Okay, interesting. This story was written April 2012 with 0 updates. Let me check the users. They post. Okay, they still post. They're not dead. Oh, thank God. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night. I never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all that changed in just a few minutes of one evening. It was Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. I think they met away. It was a quiet night, and even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot, the park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. The far end of the street, on my side, was a silhouette of a man, dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky, and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still, until I could make out his face. His eyes were wide open and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking up to the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back, and he stopped dead in my tracks. I had stopped dancing, and he was standing with one foot on the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looked skyward, smiling still wide on his lips. Smile. I meant smile. Completely and utterly unnerved by this, I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and the sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved until I noticed him. He had crossed the street and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time, staring at him. Then he started moving towards me again. He took a giant, exaggerated, tiptoed step, as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone. Except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say that at this point, I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all. But I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen as the smiling man crept towards me. Then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling, his smile, still looking at the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What I meant to ask was, "What the fuck do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimper. The fuck? Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. He didn't react at all to it. He just stood there, smiling. After what felt like forever, he turned around, very slowly, and started walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. Then I realized something. He wasn't moving anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. I ran until I was off the side road and back onto a better lit road with a spare traffic. Spares. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I kept glancing back over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane, and that's very, very scary to me. This next one is called Has Your Husband Been Standing Still? By Steak Lizard. The woman at the door said her husband was inside my home. She was agitated and ran her fingers through her unwashed hair. You have the wrong address. It's just me, I said, and lied. And my boyfriend is here. No, please just listen to me, she said, placing a hand on the door frame and leaning in toward me. I said I couldn't help her. Said she had the wrong address, and shut the door. But I could still hear her. I don't know what he'll do. Let me in. Let me find him, she said, her muffled voice sharpening while her palm drummed on the door. He stands still. I froze in the entryway and waited full minutes after it sounded like she had left. In case her ear was pressed to the door, I didn't give much thought to her husband at first. There was something off about her, as she tried to talk so calmly, even though it was obvious she was coiled tight enough to snap. She kept floating on her toes, looking into my apartment behind me. But she also didn't seem outcast, or even neglected, really. Her cashmere sweater and tampered pants told a totally different story. So I searched my apartment with the crowbar I kept under the sheets in the linen closet. No one was in the front rooms, with their windows facing the street. I had been there all day, so it was impossible for anyone to have broken in that way. Then I remembered the old dumbwaiter shaft. It was behind the kitchen door, shut behind an unhinged metal slab. To keep noise from bleeding between the apartments, it was no longer an open shaft, but a dusty compartment used as it passed through for cables. I brought along my biggest chef knife from a drawer across the refrigerator. The steel panel was painted the same color as the walls and had no handle or latch. Instead, there was a small, jagged hole punched in one side with several drill plunges. I dug a screwdriver off the trunk drawer and tried to pry it open with a single jerk, so I could step back and hold down the blade with my other hand. Instead, it swung open with a painfully slow creak, and I dropped the knife, scarring myself even more when it cluttered at my feet. Without thinking, I bent down to pick it up. Kneeling on the floor, I imagined a pale hand reaching out to my hair and skull. When I took a look inside, there was nothing there, just dark. It was empty. When I left the kitchen and crossed by the front door again, I saw that woman had shoved a piece of paper at my door like a takeout menu. It was a torn envelope, like something crumbled from the trash, and had written it in the words, "Listen, please." And I heard her whisper from low down on the door, even below where I had kneeled down to pull at the scrap of paper. This time my husband was around the corner from our French doors. In the hollow where my desk meets the printer cabinet, he must have been there all morning. He was standing straight up like a sunflower, but I didn't see him until I got up from the desk and bumped my ankle. When I looked up, suddenly he was there, staring at nothing. The second time he was behind an all-glass display case in our entryway, hinged between a pane and the wall just inside the front door. The whispering stopped and I realized I was barely breathing. I was still leaning on my knees and my knees were beginning to get sore. "Are you still there?" the whispering voice asked. I didn't answer. He's gotten really skinny and goes through tubes of high SPF sunscreen whenever he's called out to a site. So now he's as white as an electric socket. You can suppress his presence and take away your intrusive sense that another person is nearby. He's practicing. He's getting better. He knows where your eyes land and the spaces they slide over. "Go away," I screamed, before retreating to the farthest corner of my apartment away from the front door. It took me a while to calm down. "Go away," I screamed, before retreating to the farthest corner of my apartment, away from the front door. It took me a while to calm down, with some TV and all the lights on. I didn't pay attention to the show, but told myself that the woman at the front door had a mental illness and a whatever that means, complex, and she wanted to pull me into her delusion. I crept to the window and peered to the park across the street from my house. It was small and mostly mown, with a picnic pavilion and a swing set, but right across from me was a shock of forest, rising up, curling and unwanted. The sun was still up, low enough for this thicket to be dark in its own shadows. I looked for her there, expecting, I don't know what, 2 red eyes? I couldn't see her, and opened the blinds fully. A few families were playing volleyball down at the farthest end of the park, but it was otherwise empty, and I caught the blue light of an e-cig. It was her, seated in a shadowed beach chair with her legs stacked casually in front of her. I could barely see her face, but it looked like she was staring into my windows. I debated whether to go out to confront her, but when I turned around I saw her husband. I didn't scream. My throat snapped shut on my breath. With the kitchen doorway across the room, I could see my dishwasher and him standing next to it, one leg against the fridge. He wasn't standing straight, but forward at a right angle, his back aligned with the marble countertop. One arm was held pinned against his thigh, the other down, and the wrist up, fingers out at odd angles. His face pointed forward, aligned atop his body like a bullet on a shell casting, with his eyes aimed to one side of me and far away. He wore an expression of rapture on a pale face. His lips were glittering red. He didn't move or react and showed no signs of being detected, but I still expected those eyes to swivel and land on me. It didn't feel like I could move or look away until I did. I forced myself to clap, then wave my hands, but there was no reaction. "You," I said. "Sir," I added, "you need to leave." He didn't react, and it wasn't just as if he was ignoring me. There wasn't a tremor or a breath. He stayed so still. It was as if the whole world had frozen. I called 911, of course. The operator urged me to get out of the house as quickly as possible. I stayed in line with the operator. There was nothing left to say. My only way out was past him. Acid filled my stomach. There was no way I could cross that route. I considered tossing something on him or attacking him. There was nothing more dangerous than a TV remote nearby. The operator said something about officers on the way, and my phone slipped from my hand in the rush to bring it back to my ear. My eyes never dropped from the husband, who didn't flinch when my phone crashed on impact, then clattered across the floor and under the couch. I lowered myself to my hands and knees, to considered crawling and reaching under, until I realized it would put him out of sight. It was better to escape. Maybe I could crawl by him or without touching him, and he's still frozen. Maybe he was still frozen, or he would just grab me when I got close. I didn't have a choice. At the threshold between hardwood and tile, I looked down at my hands on the floor, and when I looked up, he was gone. It was only for an instant, because suddenly I could see him again, just in front of me. He hadn't moved. My eyes let him go and struggled to find him again. He wasn't where I had expected. If I had somehow forgotten him. The arms holding me up shook so violently that I pitched forward, landing on the side of my face with a smack. I landed right at his feet, but didn't touch him. Pushing back on the heels of my hands, I rolled backwards and slammed into the cabinet behind me, hard enough that I heard the fiberboard crack inside the door. I could crawl by him now, but first watched him for any sign of movement. He was in a khaki t-shirt that didn't quite match the wood cabinery or stand out from the white refrigerator at his back. Nor were his dark pants much of a match for the brushed chrome of the dishwasher, though I could see he had a silver of something shimmery silver, like a lanyard loop hanging out of his pocket. I don't know how he could have disappeared from my sight, but he didn't seem to notice me. I strained to keep an eye on him over my shoulders as I crawled past, until I couldn't move slowly any longer. I scrambled to my feet, tumbling into a sitting position, then into a headlock where I couldn't tell my heartbeats from the pounding of feet on the floor. After struggling with the lock, I finally squeezed through my front door and shut it behind me without looking back. The police came, searched my apartment, found no one. I tried to explain that he might still be there. They just hadn't seen him. But but they wouldn't come back in with me. They couldn't search the park either. They were so annoyed that they couldn't go back inside. But eventually left. I didn't have my phone and didn't know where to go, so I wandered out of my building into a daze. It was dark now. Night air felt good. I saw a car double parked, but didn't pay any attention until the woman pushed open the passenger seat from the driver's seat and waved me over. I'd be embarrassed to describe the horrible things I said to her, but she was calm and composed. She knew how to handle her husband standing still, and it was nothing like the woman who first confronted me on my doorstep. I don't want to give her real name, so I'll call her Flora. I'll teach you to see him, was the first thing Flora told me. Once I was able to listen, I didn't want to see him, or to go anywhere with this person. But I didn't know what else to do. She drove me far outside the city, until I could see stars over this whirling suburbia. Somewhere near the highway, where duplex condos faded into industrial parks, she turned into a multi-acre construction site. It was all blonde dirt, scraped and marked by the bulldozer trees. The center was a cinder block frame that might one day grow into a big box store. She turned off her headlights, and suddenly that feeling I had ignored, in favor of her serene understanding of my situation, she could no longer be ignored. I was struck dumb with fear, my sore muscles protesting at being called back to alert. Had I met a couple working together? She kept talking reasonably, kept her instructions simple, and I found no moment to protest. Instead, I followed her, even let her take me by the hand and pull me in a circumstitious path out into the center of the standing blocks. She laid out a picnic blanket and urged me to lay on my back next to her with a friendly pat until I was screaming, and I realized my camera was tilted in my bed. We're in the middle of one of the dimmer meteor showers that doesn't get any headlines, she said. We can't see one every few minutes, but we know how to look. Men who stand still, she told me, can't be searched out like a bird among branches or a face in the crowd. That is a search for specificity, even if you could live in a state of constant scrutiny, where every pixel of reality is examined. You could not often find those unmoving men. They slip into your scotoma and escape your attention because they are no longer objects to be found. There was one, she said, pointing to a part of the sky. Did you see that one? I hadn't. Because you were darting around looking for shooting stars, she said, instead of looking at the surface of reality. Her husband had receded into the sky of our day-to-day existence, she said. We were standing still. He wasn't an object to be found in space, but had shut down every part of himself to become permanent. She taught me to make my eyes flat, to search without an idea of what I want to see. To see them, you can no longer want anything from the sky, she said. You have to deaden yourself to know what surrounds you. I laughed when I saw the first shooting star and forgot all my terrible day. Then there was another. Now please, don't be afraid, she said, sitting up and placing her head on my goose-pimpled forearm. I looked around with my meteor eyes. There were men standing in strange shapes, pressing against the cinder blocks and standing in the mud at bent ankles, and even across the street, holding themselves straight. I see them everywhere now, she whispered. There are so many of them standing still. That is the end of our story that I am way too tired of. Too many hard words to pronounce, so much stuttering for no reason. Don't ask me what the hell just happened, guys. Okay, this one is one that caught my attention right away. This is called I Listened to a True Crime Podcast About Myself by Robert Moore. That's great, I haven't even started and I'm already stuttering, guys. Do not ever hire me for a podcast. Every night on my walk home from work, I listen to true crime podcasts. Even though my favorite podcast already released their episodes for this week, the app said there was a new one. Excited, I hit play. It was a small town, the kind that still has mom and pop shops lining at the street, the kind where everyone knows your name. Little did the residents know that they would soon be racked up by a horrible crime. I stopped at a traffic light. The red glowed in the darkness, leading off the wet street. Black SUVs flashed by. Across from me, eerie blue refrigerator lights glowed from inside a corner deli. The chairs all up on their tables, feet in the air. The signal returned to walk. Chilly September evening was no different for the young student. She left her shift at the local store and walked back home, except she never made it home. Young student, local store. Damn, this was hitting close to home. I was a part-time student at a Franklin Community College and worked at a local convenience store. And of course, I was walking home. I glanced behind me, looking at the alley behind Alessandro's Pizza, which wasn't dark except for the neon light spilling from the sign. Her boyfriend reported her missing the next day. The town conducted a volunteer-led search, and after the 2 days, they found something. Dread formed in my stomach, anticipating a body. What he said was so much worse. Washed up on the shore of Worthington Lane, they found a pair of size 9 red Converse sneakers. I stopped and looked down at my red Converse sneakers, damp from the rain. What the hell? My heart began to pound. The shoes were sent to a forensic analyst who would compose its pattern to another pair of shoes and try to determine if they belonged to the victim. A rumbling sound made me jump. I turned to see a dark SUV turning left to an intersection. Didn't I see that car a few minutes ago? Maybe it's following me, and the car passed by me and disappeared into the darkness. Come on, Sarah, get a grip. Converse are a popular sneaker. A little out of fashion, but still. 9 is a common woman's shoe size. What college student doesn't have some sort of job? What do you think you're listening to? Some sort of prophecy of your own death? Yeah, right. After a few weeks, the results came back. The analysis was certain. The shoes belonged to none other than Sarah Campbell. The blood drained from my face. Sarah Campbell. My name. What the fuck? How? I didn't have time to think. I forced myself to move. Small shops turning into a colorful blur. Searching the lake came up empty. Without a body, a crime is hard to solve. The police didn't give up. And finally, a witness came forward. Someone had seen a car parked at the lake that night, around 2 a.m. A black SUV with darkened windows. No. What the hell is going on? I whipped around. The street was empty. No people, no cars, no witnesses. Said the little voice in the back of my mind. No witnesses, said the little voice in the back of my mind. The one that watched way too many true crime shows. My eyes scanned the shops, all closed. There were 6 black SUVs matching the witness's description in the Franklin area, but one of them in particular caught the Detective Nolan's eyes. It belonged to Jane Kelly, a registered sex offender. The song was so soft I didn't even hear it on the voice of the songcast. I looked around. There it was. 2 blaring white headlights behind me, coming from a black SUV. I forced my legs to go faster. The car didn't speed up, it crawled along, slowly taking its time. Like the driver knew he could catch up to me. No matter what, I glanced back, trying to make him out behind the darkened windshield, but the headlights were too bright to see anything. He wasn't just a registered sex offender. He'd been convicted of assaulting a woman he worked with. He had multiple piercings and short dark hair, just like Sarah. The car prowled down the road, stalking me like a lion stalks her prey. I veered over onto the dark residential street. Just a few more stops. Headlights flashed across me, illuminating my running shadow on the pavement. I didn't look back, I just ran as fast as I could. A little brown house. Yellow shutters came into view. I sprinted across the grass, grabbing my keys from my pocket. Click. The door opened and slammed shut behind me. Then I turned the deadbolt, collapsed against the door, and began crying. I heard the rush of the doors of the car passing our house, continuing down the road, but I wasn't safe. He wasn't home yet. I was alone in a dark house with someone driving down the street who knew exactly where I lived. Still sobbing, I checked all the locks, and I called Gabe, who assured me he was 5 minutes away. I made my way down the dark hallway and headed into the bathroom. Then I set my phone on the counter, grabbed a clip of tissues, and began to blow my nose. Click. I jumped, looked around. It wasn't coming from outside the door. My phone screen lit up. The podcast was still playing. I must have hit it when I put the phone down. It skipped several minutes forward, according to the play indicator. What do you think happened to Sarah? The baritone voice asked. I reached for it to turn it off. Oh, she told me she wanted to run away before. I stopped dead. It was Gabe's voice, clear as day, coming from the speakers. She did? Why? The voice asked. She wasn't happy with her grades, her job, her parents. She told me sometimes she dreamed of just moving to some random state and leaving it all behind. I froze, staring at the mirror. He never said that. Never. He was lying? I mean, it was I mean, that was hurtful to me. As her boyfriend, you know? I thought we were going to get married someday, but apparently she didn't feel the same way. My heart pounded in my ears. Do you think she just skipped downtown and is living her happily ever after with somewhere else? With someone else? Rather than being abducted or murdered? Pause. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. That's all for now. Thank you to our listeners. The hours replayed. I stared at my reflection, everything coming down all at once. My mind turning racing to catch up with what it meant. The front door creaked open. Footsteps sounded outside. Sarah, I'm back. I backed away from the door. Sarah? My eyes fell on the window. I ran over to it. Turned the lock and pushed. I popped the screen out. Then I swung a leg over, put through the window, and I ran as fast as I could. That is the end of our spooky stories for today. I have had way too much stuff happen today. I think my microphone has died a total of 6 times. I've had to recharge it, I've had to pause, I've had to redo my makeup. So much stuff has happened, guys, and I feel like at some points you can tell I was rushing from the stuttering, from all that stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys like these 3 spooky stories. I'll probably do more in the future, but I'm a little more confident. I think you can literally tell my voice I am not used to this, at all, and I've been stuttering a lot because of my accent and all that stuff, but yeah. Nonetheless, I hope you guys like this, and I look forward to making more for you guys and using this microphone. But yeah, thank you so much, and bye! Oh wait, there's a fluffy version. It's cute. Alright, that's it. Bye!